Hey guys, welcome to Unleash Podcast brought to you by Hidden Gem, where we talk about how to unleash your hidden potential. I'm your host, Yuri Diorges, and we have a great episode for you today featuring Bakker Shields. Baker, thank you for being on today.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Before we jump into today's topics, we would like to invite you to subscribe to this podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Also, you can always find these podcasts on our website, hiddengem.net. And if you live in the area and you have not visited Hidden Gene yet, you can always grab a free trial pass at hiddengene.net. Bakker Shields. So let's talk a little bit about a background. Tell us a little bit about your background and some of the things that you are really passionate about. Because Greg gave me a lot of things to talk, but I really want to hear from you first.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, I just graduated from the University of Oklahoma last December. I'm 23 years old. I lived in Oklahoma my whole life. I just recently moved here to the DFW area. And really, the biggest part about me is I've kind of been an entrepreneur since before I really knew that there was a word for it. Back when I was 12, 13 years old, I don't know if you remember like the little paracord survival bracelets that got real popular for a while, but you basically tie them in like a special knot, and they're supposedly like super durable.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I looked it up on YouTube one day and started kind of making them for a couple of my friends and a bunch of people at school, and I was in elementary school at the time. A bunch of people at school thought it was really cool. And I remember my grandma was one of the teachers at the school, and so we actually worked out this system where she would like have a sign-up sheet where people could put what colors they wanted and like what size their wrists were, and they would record their colors or their order basically. And every Friday, of course I'm like 13, so every Friday my grandma would take me to the donut shop like to go get donuts, and she would give me the order form for the week. I'd drop off a huge bag of bracelets, and she'd take them to everybody, and I'd go start making the next week. So that was kind of my first, like, I guess, avenue into entrepreneurship. Since then, for a few years, I started in 2017. I ran it was a Christian athlete apparel brand called All Glory Apparel. That's actually how I met Greg. I competed in a bodybuilding show in 2019 for the Kuklo Classic. Of course, he does his show of strength every year with the Kuklo Classic.
Yep.
And that was like right when Hidden Gym was starting. So it was their grand opening weekend, I think. So all the athletes got to go and work out at Hidden Gym for free. And I remember I kind of just like walked in, and it was him and Tana, and they were both kind of like still setting stuff up. And I was like, am I too early? Like, am I able to start working out? And they were like, yeah. So I took a bunch of pictures and everything, talked to him a little bit, got to see him all weekend at the show, but I set up a booth for my apparel company at the show. And so that's kind of where I connected with Greg, I think, a little bit deeper, was talking to him about entrepreneurship and everything. So we got to talk a little bit more about that. But it's so crazy. I was telling him the other day that I went into the gym to go work out, and I mean, there was probably 200 people in there. Like, everybody's just going crazy. Like, there's boxing classes, there's cardio classes, like a bunch of people lifting. And how far it's come since that first grand opening weekend, it's really
Yeah,
cool to
I'm
see.
not surprised because I've known Greg for the past 10 years, and
Yeah,
every gym that he touches becomes a success. That's
yeah,
something that I noticed in three gyms already because I was with him at the beginning at Metroflex Plano, and I saw
yeah.
that he replicate the same strategy throughout all the gyms. Now, how it comes the connection between your line of business with fitness, or do you use fitness as a foundation for what you do? What is the connection?
Yeah. So, like I said, so back in high school, I was doing kind of the entrepreneurial stuff, but I was really into basketball. I ended up having a knee injury that kind of prevented me from, going to the next level as far as basketball. And so I got to college, and I was just looking for some type of outlet that wasn't near as painful. Like, for me, just the impact of running up and down the court playing basketball, it was just too much. So I was looking for some type of outlet to be active, kind of feed that competitive side of me, and just be active really. And so I kind of got into lifting. I lifted. I would say I was kind of like a gym bro for a couple of years, like just going to the gym and doing workouts that I would see on Instagram or YouTube. Um, and then I kind of got into. There was a guy at the gym, and I always noticed this dude was like super hardcore. His name's Matt Lauk. He's actually from the area as well. But he would always be lifting. You could tell it was like something much further than much a higher level than everybody else that was there. He was super calculated all the time. He always had like his hood up. He had the big headphones on. Always, and he was just always just really locked into his workouts. And so finally one day I kind of just worked up the courage to like go ask him, because I knew that I'd kind of heard of bodybuilding before, but I didn't really understand the sport. So I went and kind of asked him about it, and he was like, you know what, I'm hitting a session tomorrow, 6 p.m., be there. And he was like, I'll show you. And I guess he does that a lot. And he said that nobody really takes him up on it, because whenever he's super direct like that, people are just like, maybe that guy doesn't want to work out or talk to me. So I showed up, and he put me through like a couple of sessions, and I guess like 2 or 3 sessions in, he was like, okay, this kid might actually like stick around. So I kind of stuck around. He showed me the ropes of bodybuilding. He's the one that introduced me to the actual sport. That later, the next year, I ended up doing my prep for the Kuklo Classic. But really where I think my connection between fitness and entrepreneurship lies is I noticed that as soon as I got really serious about not only the going to the gym part, because that was never really that hard for me, but getting really serious about the nutrition side and the sleep side and the cardio, and whenever you put together everything that's involved in kind of the bodybuilding world and just holistically looking at your health and really making that a priority, I noticed that there was kind of this subconscious connection that started to be made, and I kind of see it as like a formula in my head. So it's hard work and consistency over time. In this case, physically, hard work and consistency over time, you see the results. So I got really addicted to, I eat a certain way, I train a certain way, I do a certain amount of cardio, and I look like this. And I thought that was super cool. But what I think that does when you really make your health and fitness a priority is I think that makes a subconscious connection in your mind to everything else in life. And so I noticed that as soon as I started doing that with fitness, and I started seeing a lot of results with fitness, that kind of translated over into every other aspect of my life. So my businesses, my schoolwork, my relationships even. I kind of started to see that exact same thing be applied. And then, like I said, it's on a subconscious level. You're not necessarily thinking about it, but that type of consistency and hard work over time, it's going to breed those results. So I think that's where the connection lies, really, for me.
And nowadays, what are you doing as far as business?
Yeah. So, like I said, I ran the apparel company for a few years. Most recently, today was a big day for a couple of my companies. So I run a equipment company called Eubora Fitness. It specializes in kind of like innovative, cool fitness equipment. So initially it's been accessories. I've got a few things here actually I can show if you're interested in that. But it's basically, I went through a knee rehab surgery after I had surgery on my knee. I told you about the injury, kind of. After training for so long on it, it kind of wore down, and I ended up having to have surgery on it. So I went through rehab and ended up coming up with this cool resistance band solution. And it was not necessarily, it's a different take on the resistance band. So it's got a buckle on it. And I can actually show you. So essentially, for when you're rehabbing for a knee injury, a lot of the things they do is glute focused kind of leg work, because the stronger that your glutes are, the more pressure is taken off of your knees when you're walking or doing just everyday things. So a lot of the things they have you do in rehab is they have you actually train with these glute bands. And so if you have a knee injury, they're trying to stretch out the band and like shimmy it up your huge swollen knee and then put it in place, and then you do your workout and then they try to stretch it out and pull it down. And to me that was just terrifying, because I'm like, if the physical therapist like lets it go and it snaps, like that's going to hit my knee. Obviously it's going to be really painful, but it could ruin the surgery. All sorts of things could happen. So I kind of started thinking like, why is there not another solution to that? And so my initial thought was add a buckle. I thought surely somebody had tried adding a buckle at some point to a resistance band, and I did some research and found out, sure enough, nobody had. So I just kind of started working with it, found some manufacturers, and ended up getting it created. So this is the buckle band. These are ones we got in today. That's why I said it was a big day. We got in several different accessories, 3 times larger than the first order, but I don't know if you can see that really well.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a resistance band. So it's got not only the buckle piece where you just kind of, you put it around your legs or wherever you're going to use it, and you just buckle it in place and you just go. It also is adjustable. So you can also adjust it and lock it in place and make it, theoretically, you can make the resistance higher or lower.
Right.
So I have several different resistances, several different colors now. But that was the first product, and then I've got into a few more other products. Actually about to launch this collection, which I'm calling the Blackout Collection, and it's got 2 upper body products, and then this new color of what I call the buckle band. But that's one of the ventures that I'm working on right now. And then I also have another venture called Revive Gummies. This one I actually run this venture, which I run both of them, but this one, the ownership it's owned by another group, and they fund it, and I actually run the company. So I'm considered the president of it, and it's called Revive Gummies, which I brought that too, so you guys can kind of see it. But it's essentially, it's a creatine gummy. So it's kind of a different take on the, I guess, traditional process of taking creatine. We all know that creatine kind of sucks to take. It's like really, really gross typically. Like I used to try mixing mine into coffees, pre-workouts, protein, just shoot it with a little bit of water. Like nothing made creatine enjoyable to take. And so I worked with a manufacturer out of Norman, Oklahoma. We ended up making this product come to life, and it's a creatine gummy. So the cool thing is it also has like drawers. So the gummies
That's cool.
sit in little drawers. Yeah. So the gummies sit in drawers, and you just pop 2 gummies. It's a full serving of Creatine HCl.
And is that a unique idea? I mean, there is no other one like this?
No, there's not. There's one other group that tried a creatine gummy, but they were doing creatine monohydrate, and a lot of people don't know the difference between monohydrate and HCl. So creatine monohydrate, you need 5 grams essentially is the recommended dosage for your body each day. But creatine HCl is 40 times more water soluble than creatine monohydrate. So you only need 1 gram of HCl to every 5 grams of monohydrate. So with our gummy, we have a full serving, which is considered 1 gram of HCl, which is equivalent, like I said, to 5 grams of monohydrate. And the other gummy that, like I said, I don't know if they actually are still in business or not, but the other gummy was I think it was 1 gram of monohydrate. So it was 20% of your recommended serving.
Now, there is any difference between the two as far as what it does?
There isn't a difference in the two. The only difference is the water solubility. So like I said, it's 40 times more water soluble, HCl is. But it's also a more potent form of creatine. So a lot of the wives' tales that you get, which they're not necessarily wives' tales, but a lot of the problems people complain about creatine is the water retention. A lot of people talk about water retention. A lot of people talk about like bloating. A lot of people get like stomach issues or diarrhea with it. And what that's because our bodies are made of water, obviously. There's a lot of water in our stomachs. So whenever you take your 5 gram dose of monohydrate, because it's so insoluble in water, it goes down into your stomach, and that, 0.5 gram to 1 gram gets absorbed into your bloodstream and goes and does what it's supposed to do. But another 3 to 4 grams of it just sits in your stomach as sediment. And so your body has to try to flush that out. So it pumps your stomach with water, which causes the water retention. And it also causes the bloat, stomach issues, all of that, trying to flush that sediment out of your stomach. So that is what all the problems are with creatine. And so with HCl, you can take that 1 gram and you can trust that 1 gram, what your body actually needs and can use, is going to go straight to use in your body, straight to work.
That's excellent. That's a great idea for sure. And all the things that you are involved are somehow fitness related, right?
Yes. Because my 2 passions in life really are entrepreneurship and fitness. And so I always tell people, like, if there's a way that I can continue to combine those and make that work and make that, the way that I make a living, then that's considered a win for me. Like, if I can continue to do everything that I love in life, and that'll keep me going essentially, then, that I'm going to do all I can to make that happen.
Yeah, it's interesting because most of the people that has this type of vision and how they want to pursue their career, and they are either gonna be a trainer or a gym owner, but you
Yeah.
are going in a whole different direction and more creativity and create new things for the fitness industry. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, no. I've done training as well. I still do some online training. I have another entity that does that. I teamed up with my sister actually to do that. She's a really big account on Instagram to follow, and she basically does a lot of the acquisition for us. And we do a really cool online training community. So we try to add like a more personal touch for online training. And really, where that was born was I used to train people when I lived in Oklahoma in person. A lot of them wanted to continue to work with me, so I wanted to create some type of platform for them to continue to work with me. And then it kind of, with her following and her acquisition skills, she kind of brought in a lot more clientele. So I do that on the side as well. I love the training side. I love helping people to make that connection I was talking about earlier between, that subconscious connection and increasing that productivity, knowing that hard work and consistency over time equals results. But yeah, I try to combine everything that I do between entrepreneurship and fitness because, like I said, those are just the two things I'm most passionate about.
And when you have, I mean, not now because you are not fully dedicated to that, but when you used to have clients that were starting a program with you, what
Yeah.
were one of the main things that you try to evangelize them to do? It was the discipline. It was being diligent with the program. What were some of the touch points that you consider important for someone have that just started to be successful on their fitness journey?
For sure. So the biggest thing that I think any of my clients would tell you that I try to stress early on is form. I'm a big believer in terms of training that you have to set like a good foundation before you do anything. I I tried to kind of ego lift because I was in high school. I think a lot of guys do it. It's just a side effect of having super high testosterone. All of you are trying to be cool and everything. But for me, I try to really stress to everybody that you have to set that good foundation of form, no matter how light you're having to go in any given exercise, so that you can build off of that. And if you set that good foundation, then you're going to grow that much quicker. The other thing that I really try to emphasize, and that I've seen a lot more people on social media and in the fitness world start to talk about, is training with intention. I think a lot of people end up going to the gym and just kind of going through the motions. And I noticed that with some of my clients as well, is that they would have their little list of workouts to do and they would just go and just, their whole objection was to, check off boxes on the list. Like, I did the reps, whatever. But really, like, you have to treat each individual set, each individual rep, like something that you have to do with intention. So intensity is one of the biggest factors as well in terms of growth.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that the guy that got me into bodybuilding, he really stressed to me and he taught me, because I was one of those people that went to the gym and just, I was following my little workouts from Instagram or YouTube and I was just trying to go through my list. But once you get to that point where you can identify where failure is going to be and you can push those last 3 or 4 reps out that are really hurt or are really tough to get out, that is where all of your growth is going to end up being. But if you're not training with intention, if you're not training with intensity, you're never going to get to that point because you might be going too light or you might be going too quick with your reps or not actually contracting as hard as you can on each rep. So that's another thing that I stress. The 2 things I would say is form and intention, as far as training.
Yeah, as far as training, but usually mainly for people that are starting or even people that are already trying to go to the next level, going to the gym usually is the easiest part, right? Because
Yeah.
they socialize, they are just having a good time. Now, everything else that you do outside of the gym is really what's gonna make a difference. So, how you touch on those points?
Yeah. So the biggest, I always tell people, and it's the biggest cliche in the fitness industry, that nutrition is 70 to 80% of the battle.
Hmm.
And I always thought it was just a saying forever. I know a lot of people think that, oh, they're just saying that. The real thing is I have to get in the gym and do some work. But in reality, that's 100% true
Yeah,
statement. Like there's a reason
Pe-
that there's a
people
reason
hate to hear
that it's
hear the truth, but it's truth.
oh oh they hate it. Yeah, I hated it for so long. But no, that is really the biggest factor, and that's why I have so much respect for everyone in bodybuilding, especially. I think it's really important in a general health setting as well that you have to make nutrition a priority. But that's why I have so much respect for the sport of bodybuilding, because it's not something that you go to practice for 2 hours a day. Like you don't just go to your workout for 2 hours a day or do your cardio for an hour. It's a 24/7
Yeah,
deal. Like
it's a full-time job.
exactly. Yeah, you have to be going home and hitting your macros at every single day, every single meal. Like there's no breaks if you're gonna go down that
Yeah.
route.
Eh,
So that's why I have so much respect for them. But that is the biggest thing to me is nutrition. And like I said, I know it's a cliche. I know no one likes to hear it, but like it makes a huge difference if you're able to intuitively actually eat for your goals as
Yeah,
well.
I remember talking to people about that because I personally lost 100 pounds in my fitness journey.
That's
I
awesome.
was,
Congratulations.
thank you. I was obese and everything. But people say, well, what exercise do you do for abs? It's like, well, abs is really done in the kitchen, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
where you really do your abs. I mean, it's not really an exercise. But people don't want to hear that. But it is
Yeah.
interesting that at such a young age, where probably many of your friends, not sure many, but many of your, some of your friends probably spend nights, drinking and having fun, and you are like
Yeah.
laser focused on the things that you need to get it done.
Hmm.
Now, where this drive comes from? I mean, I know that it looks like it's something that you were born with because since beginning, since a young age, you were doing things like that. But there were any moment of time that you were like, you know what? I'm just gonna go out, have drink, and have some fun, and forget about this. Or you were 100% always focused on what you need to do.
Um, I think everybody has kind of those moments sometimes where they maybe struggle. I certainly have had mine. I've never once thought about quitting. I can say that for sure. I've never thought about quitting any of it. But I've had those nights where I've went out and I've had fun just like anybody else. And to me, it's just I feel like sometimes people end up falling into that in college or in high school,
Hmm.
and they're able to keep going into that. For me, I've never been one that's been able to like consistently do things like that. It's just I noticed that my workouts just plummet for the next few days, like in terms of how they feel and how I feel. I've noticed that my productivity is terrible after that. Like I think that once you kind of hold yourself to a certain standard, and once like for me, like especially going through that prep, going and training for that show, to me, that kind of changed everything for me because after being at that level of productivity, at that level of discipline, I always felt like I was selling myself short if I wasn't at least striving to be at that point or striving to attain that type of mentality again. So, I as far as the drive, I just really enjoy creating things. I'm a kind of a marketing nerd. I really like creating a brand, creating a product that people. And I realize that not everyone's gonna like everything that I create. I'm not I guess naive to that fact, but I I really enjoy creating things that I think are cool, honestly. And if other people think that it's cool too, or if other people want to identify with a brand I create or an image that I create or a product, then that's to me that's extremely
Yeah.
rewarding. Like that's one of the most rewarding things that I can
And what
do.
was
So
your major?
my major was
Oh,
entrepreneurship.
okay. I think it's
Yeah,
the same
so
one as Greg, right?
I don't know actually. I
Uh,
know I know he went to OSU. He
right.
gives me a hard time about that all the
Yeah,
time
yeah.
because OSU and OU being rivals. But but no, I don't know exactly
I
what his
think it
major
is.
was.
I'm pretty sure that, and I think that the first gin was almost like his main project, something like that. I may be wrong, but I think it was.
Yeah.
But in any case, how do you keep up with your ideas? Because I mean, many people they leave the university and they go to the market, but they don't renew themselves, right? As far as study, as far as taking new trainings. So, do you attend new trainings? How you keep innovating from this point of view?
Yeah, I do like podcasts a lot. A couple of podcasts or one podcast that I like in particular for business and kind of mindset stuff is I like Andy Frisella. He did for a long time. He did the MFCEO project and he did Real AF is like his current kind of project, I guess. I really like him and some of the content that he puts out, but really, I guess just things pop into my head. I kind of honestly like I don't have a better explanation for it, and I just kind of once that pops into my head, I figure out how to execute and do
Yeah.
it.
And
I
that's
have
great because a lot of people they have ideas, but ideas
yeah
without execution they are just dead, right? I mean, you
yeah
can have a million of ideas if you don't put into practice and execute, nothing's gonna happen. And the good thing about you, as you said, is that you have a good idea and you go ahead and make it happen.
yeah yeah. I think that's one of the most important things. And I think where that's where everyone sells themselves short. Honestly, another thing I'm really passionate about is that we all have some type of gift in life. Like everybody has one thing that they are better at or know more about than everyone else. And that's worth something. Like I'm a big believer in everyone should pursue the things that feel easy to them because those are the things that you were put on this earth to go and pursue. You know, those are the things that you were born with that maybe nobody else has or maybe everyone else can
Hmm.
use. And so that's something for me that I try to stress to everybody because I've had a bunch of friends and stuff that have came to me and been like, how did you do this? Like what how did you figure it all out? Or even have asked me to like help them with certain things. And I try to do my best, but at the end of the day, like you said, anyone can have an idea, anyone can start a business, but it's all in the execution. Like you have to see it through each and every day, each and every hour, each and every minute. You can't take breaks or let those things go, or else one day turns into 1 week, 1 week turns into
Yeah.
1 month, and then all of a sudden you're 6 months or a year down the road, and it's like, what's the point? Is what you might be
And
feeling.
we see this all
Uh,
the time on the fitness industry. For example, we
yes.
are probably 3 4 months away from the biggest accomplishment that everyone will have, which is the New Year's resolution. Everyone is gonna get in shape. Everyone is gonna change their life, and then
Yep.
2 3 months later they derail and everything is back to normal, right? So we
Yeah.
see this pattern over and over, and staying consistent is like so important because
Yep.
when I lost 100 pounds, a lot of people said, "Well, you're gonna gain everything back." Okay, 10 years later, I still on the same shape or better than I was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
consistency to me is really the most important thing.
No, 100%. And everybody has those test days, like, and that's what I call them is test days. You're gonna have those days where you really don't feel like you want to go, or you didn't get out of work until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and it just doesn't make sense to go to the gym. Or you're gonna be able to reason with yourself and have that voice in your head that tells you, you know, you'll do it tomorrow. And if you let those days win, especially when you're trying to engage in something major or do something, really big or really productive, if you let those days win, then if it wins today, like I said, it might win tomorrow.
Hmm.
It might win the rest of this
Yeah,
week. You might say, "Oh, I'll start again on Monday,"
yeah.
and that's the biggest thing is you got to execute now. And like I'm definitely not perfect at that. I have my days where I'm like, you know what, I need to take a rest day. Like this is too much, and I have those
Yeah,
days.
you have to listen
Everybody,
to your body. You just cannot allow those days not only to win, but to become a pattern and a
yes,
habit. Because then, as you said, those days that will be the exception becomes the normal.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
100%.
All right, Baker. Thank you very much. I think it was a great chat. I really admire the fact that you are so young and have so many things done, and there is a whole lot of things to do. I think is good for the industry to have new blood and new thoughts on mainly innovation. So congratulations for your work.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for listening to Unleash Podcast, and see you again next time.